Welcome to episode 182 of the DC Comics News Podcast. No, your eyes are not deceiving you. We have a new face, but an old face if you also watch and listen to I Am the Night. With us is, first of all, Brad Filicki. How are you, brother?
Good. How you guys doing? Welcome, Adam.
Doing very well indeed. Yes, my name's Adam Ray, the Izzet Tinker to those in the gamer circles. Dulcet tones that you may recognize talking about Batman the Animated Series with my delightful father. On
the smaller one,
in age and size. But yeah, always keen to talk about Batman and all the things going on in the wider DC universe. Actually quite thrilled to be here. I've heard great things about the stuff that you guys get up with and talk about, and we have a laundry list of news to cover this week, don't we?
Oh yes, a great laundry list, and obviously we start, as we always do, with DC movie news, and mainly focused around obviously the next big release, Blue Beetle. Some brand new clips have dropped focusing on the characters, and they're all really pretty cool. Yeah. Brad, what are your thoughts?
I like these clips. It definitely highlights the humor, and the humor works from what I've seen. It doesn't seem cheesy. It doesn't seem forced. It seems like the cast has a natural kind of chemistry, which I like to see. And a lot of DC characters, they work well when it's focused on family, and this is definitely one that's focused on family. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. What about you guys?
Yeah, definitely. Blue Beetle, especially Jaime Reyes' Blue Beetle, has been a personal favorite character of mine, and he's got a close connection to us, at least, being like Latin American and like Spanish culture or Mexican culture. I'm not too sure the details. It's been a while since I read his stories, but they get that essence down of the tight-knit, strong family unit, like you said. We've seen good bits of that in the Shazam movies so far, but really building on that just to make him seem likable and approachable. But it's also a big thing in the culture there. So getting that side of the character down from the offset and seeing him going through like the growing pain struggle of understanding his powers, but framing his powers in a way that seems sinister, as they say in the second of the three clips. They've given us all the right ingredients to show that they've done the character justice from the drop, and I'm very excited for the project even more now.
To echo what you both said, the whole family side. I love what you said, Brad, the humor, because sometimes, and I do believe that the Marvel movies are very guilty of this, of dropping a silly bit of humor in the middle of a dramatic scene for no reason other than to drop in a bit of humor. This whole piece of the whole writing and acting is of a higher standard, I think, because you do feel a family bond from these actors, possibly because they worked together before, possibly because of the whole Hispanic part of it as well. But all three of us are Jaime Reyes fans, all three of us are Blue Beetle fans, so I'm really looking forward to this. And we talked about the humor and the cultural side of it, but I also love the fact that it's superhero, a little bit of body horror, and sci-fi with the armor, the action. Yeah, this is a film I'm really, really looking forward to. And it seems like I'm not the only one, because from first reactions, a lot of people are loving it. And again, very few, even slightly negative comments from what we've seen in this next article. What did you make of that, Brad?
I'm thrilled. It seems, you had mentioned the culture, the Latin culture, and all these reactions say that they nailed it. And that, I think, is important. And that is a great way to start out my kind of feelings about the film, or my expectations going into it, because I always get a little nervous when movies are released this time of year. It's kind of like a dead zone that studios really don't believe in it. So I was like, well, but I'm really liking these reactions, and I'm liking that they took an effort to really represent the culture as authentically as they can. So yeah, these reactions made me more excited to see it, and I'm already pretty excited. What about you guys?
Yeah, I would say like getting these kinds of reactions are just very important. But I think it's important because of DC's track record. I really want this project to succeed. They've had a few good successes with Jason Momoa's Aquaman and the Shazam movies, because they were like lighter of tone but still had connections to the wider movie universe that they'd made. Obviously, The Flash has been very divisive, which I still don't quite get why. But
I loved it.
I think it's important that this movie got such great reactions because, by and large, the character's got a lot of popularity, sure, but he's still relatively unknown to the wider sort of community and the wider viewer base. Like comics fans like us will know, oh, great, he's in it. Well, we see Ted Kord and all of that good stuff. But most people be like, Blue Beetle, who's this? Well, and then they'll sort of can make comparisons to certain other Marvel characters. So this is a very ambitious project, and these positive reactions already are really exactly what this movie needs.
Well said. I mean, both of you are so spot on. What I'm going to look at this film is, and Brad, and you and I have talked about this so many times over the course of the shows, that so many fans out there seem to be desperate for every DC project to fail. And I think that's part of the backlash against Flash, because I saw it, I loved it, and everyone I know who's a DC fan or a comics fan loved the Flash. It's that negative side of fandom. But this film, for me, is brilliant. The way you said that Blue Beetles knew, who is this guy? Who knew who Iron Man was before Robert Downey Jr.'s first Iron Man film? They only made Iron Man because Sony had the rights to Spider-Man. That was the only reason they made Iron Man the main character. With Hamer, we've got the armor, the cool armor. We've got the humor. We've got the Latin side. We've got the whole legacy, because at least one chord is appearing, Susan Sarandon's character. Oh, yeah. So we've got a whole universe of opportunities, and like Adam said, I agree wholeheartedly. I really want this film to do well. I really want this project to work. So, and
building it further on that still, we've also got like the Spider-Man level teen drama of like a young man coming into his own, but also a young man coming into his own as a superhero from strange otherworldly scientific means. But also I think it's important to make the distinction because it's still sort of high-level alien tech, as we'll find out in the movie, presumably, but also there's something in sinister there. As we saw in the second clip, they thought it was like a world-destroying weapon. So, and we see the destruction that it wreaks as he's trying to learn to control it. So viewers are going to go in being like, oh, is this guy like an edgy anti-hero? Will he join the Justice League? Will this be like the precursor to some other superhero group? Most viewers just won't know who this character is. So that level of uncertainty in the casual viewer will really bring in a lot of attention, which is exactly what this show needs. This movie needs.
I like that you both brought up Iron Man and Spider-Man because that's kind of what my impression was from watching these previews from the very first time we got the trailer. So I'm glad I'm not the only one that felt that way.
It's the perfect blend, isn't it? Because Spider-Verse introduced Miles Morales, which is another brilliant, inspirational character that brings in lots of different cultures and lots of diversity. And Blue Beetle can do that because he's a teenager. He's likable. He's suffering. All the teenage stuff, plus the whole superpowers business as well. So it's got a winning formula. Let's just hope that people give it a chance, which sadly a lot of the times they're not. But what you going to do?
You can only hope, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now, some other hope. Superman Legacy, which we spoke about the casting, obviously, of Superman and Lois. But now, obviously, we've got Anthony Carrigan coming in as Metamorpho, and we've got the casting news for Hawkgirl, Mr. Terrific, and my personal favourite bit of casting of all time, Guy Gardner. Brad, you've got to be hyped about these names, right?
Oh, yes. Nathan Fillion's going to make a great Guy Gardner. I hope they give him the haircut somehow.
Could you imagine if you got the Guy Gardner bowl haircut? I didn't even think about that.
I mean, they've got to, right?
Oh, man.
Got to, right? It solidifies the look. Like,
are they going to dye his hair red?
That is also the hope, right? I mean, like, I feel like he was an easy in thanks to his connection to because like James Gunn may not be involved directly, but he's still part of the conversation. And they're like this. They're like best.
With Superman Legacy, it's his film. He's writing and directed it. So
that's why he's so involved so heavily. And we've seen him do a lot of like high energy, like sci-fi-esque roles in like the Guardians movies and of course Firefly. Like, I think it's really brave that the first like big showing of a Green Lantern on screen is Guy Gardner. No disrespect to Ryan Reynolds in the early 2000s. I think it's very, very ambitious of them to choose Guy Gardner because even though he's like a human Green Lantern, he's so punchable I think just going to borrow a loan.
Batman would agree.
He's just so punchable to borrow a term from the Nimona movie. That like putting that Green Lantern up on screen would be so great. But we need to pair it with a good showing of either Hal Jordan or John Stewart. But we'll get to that a little later, won't we?
And I think he's definitely going to be punchable. I can't see James Gunn putting A, Guy Gardner, B, played by Nathan Fillion in a movie and not have him be punchable. That just seems like right up the character. I mean, like right up James Gunn's alley for what he's going to do.
Yeah.
And I agree. I think it's brave and it's also clever because I think for the Hal Jordan Green Lantern, you're still going to feel a little bit of the Ryan Reynolds effect. And honestly, I like that movie more than
I did.
Most people did. I did. Yeah,
it was a lot of fun, and it showed a very sincere, very faithful origin story for Hal Jordan. So I can't fault it. It's a lot of fun. I have a lot of fondness for it. But putting a new take on Green Lantern back on the screen, it'll be good. I think as long as Nathan Fillion gives us the Captain Hammer energy from Dr. Horrible sing-along vlogs, we'll be set. It'll be great.
Yeah. And I've been a fan of Isabella Merced for a while. I thought she did a good job as Dora. And I think she was in one of the Transformers movie, maybe the one with Mark Wahlberg, but anyway.
I think she was in the first Mark Wahlberg one in China, wasn't she? The one with the Dinobots, yeah.
And she was also in the family where they adopt a bunch of kids. I think Mark Wahlberg was in that too. She was good in that. So I think she's going to make a great Hawkgirl. Yeah. And perfect casting for Metamorpho.
Yeah.
He's so amazing. I look at him, I look at his face.
Yeah.
And I can see him as that character. You don't even barely need makeup.
Yeah. Just give him the strange colors.
Anthony, I promise that's a compliment.
No, it is.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I'm really excited about the casting. And I like that we're also going to get Mr. Terrific. We're going to get a Hawkgirl. We're going to get Metamorpho. And it's not. These are the things that are fun for me as a fan because I wonder how is he going to integrate all those characters in a movie and introduce a new Superman to the world. It's going to be fun. I'm really excited.
You guys again, the hive mind at play, but Brad, obviously, as someone who's read a lot more of the wider DC universe, I haven't introduced Adam to the Terrifics yet. Having Mr. Terrific and Metamorpho in the same film, could this be a possible opening of the doors to a Terrifics movie? Because again, that series was the best thing to come out of the New Age of Heroes. I was really unhappy when it got cancelled, and having like DC's homage to, but also slight nudge, nudge, wink, wink, laugh at the Fantastic Four would be a brilliant addition to the DC universe in the movies, I think.
I have a feeling that, I think we're going to see a lot more of the Terrifics. I think that could be part of the whole connecting tissue that's going to connect all these movies, kind of the way that Nick Fury did in the early Marvel movies. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens.
I like that.
Get a Terrifics movie.
Yeah, I think because the name Mr. Terrific's one I've heard thrown around in certain fringe circles of like DC superhero action. But then again, I'm also thinking like this is just my optimism thinking back to if we're seeing Metamorpho, maybe we can get like some justice done to Black Lightning to get like a version of the Outsiders.
Oh, that would be so cool. I mean, even if we could bring in the TV Black Lightning, because one thing, he was fantastic in that show.
Yeah. We could we can reprise the lady that played Katana from the first Suicide Squad movie. She was one of the saving graces of that movie, despite how on the nose her introduction was.
Yeah. Incredibly.
Yeah. But then again, we'll talk a little more about the Suicide Squad a little later as well. We have so much to talk about this evening.
Absolutely. Yeah. But one bit of bad news, but I'm sorry, I'm still going to take Gal's word for it. We spoke a few weeks back that Gal Gadot had done a couple of interviews saying that James Gunn has said Wonder Woman will proceed with her in the starring role. But now that seems to be debunked, and they're saying Wonder Woman 3 is reportedly not in development. I'm going to take this one with a pinch of salt and still hope for the best. What about you, Brad?
I do too. I think that Gal probably got a few angry texts or a few angry phone calls from James Gunn. What are you doing? I think that there's more to the story than James Gunn is letting on. I think that we will see a Wonder Woman 3, and why wouldn't we? It's just a matter of. I think at this point, it's going to happen. It's just where to fit it in the grand scheme of all the other announcements. And once they get that figured out, they'll announce it. So, I mean, I guess too, it depends on the strike, because the strike doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon. And if you look at, we've got years with these movies, so it could be that by the time it comes around, Gal Gadot might not want to, at that point. But for now, I think that there's more to the story than James Gunn is letting on, and that there is things brewing that they just can't tell the public about. That's what I think. What about you guys?
I'm sure that Gal Gadot knows what she's talking about when it comes to the project she's attached to, because right now she's the queen of weird heist movies on Netflix. I also know that she deeply loves this character. I mean, like, it's not just that this character sort of like broke her onto like the Western audiences. I know that she's done a lot of independent movies and back home, as well as being in the army. But she knows how well to handle this character. She's sort of become synonymous with Wonder Woman at this point. She's just done the character so well in so many movies and so many appearances in the Justice League movies as well. So I would say we just got to watch this space. I'll consider it sort of like there's a hope that we'll have to wait and see what else they want to release until they can actually say, yes, it's happening and it's coming out of this date. So something to look forward to, but something we'll have the things they want to show us now on our minds.
Yeah, they've got that whole first slate booked, haven't they?
Yeah.
So Wonder Woman's probably there, but not quite at the top of the list yet. But how often have we said it that Gal Gadot has not just played Wonder Woman, she basically is Wonder Woman.
If you're gonna make a Wonder Woman movie and not have her in it, what's the point? I mean, at this point, that's as much slack as these early round of DC movies got. The casting can't really be argued.
Absolutely,
that's a perfect example. A great Aquaman, great Wonder Woman, great Superman, and I liked Ben Affleck as Batman as well. So if they can,
I was shocked when he was cast, but he killed it.
Yeah,
he was brilliant.
Yep, and Margot Robbie makes a great Harley Quinn too. So, but yeah, I think that I agree. I think that if you're going to make a third Wonder Woman movie, she should be attached, especially if it's going to be in the near future. It just wouldn't be the same.
Absolutely.
I'm sure we'll get around to seeing her again, but it'll come soon. It'll come eventually.
Keep everything crossed. Now, what we are going to see, and Brad, obviously you'll have some knowledge about this because you were at SDCC. We know that we're going to get a full-blown animated Crisis on Infinite Earths, but it's Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths, and an animated Watchmen movie. But again, with the Watchmen TV show, with the Watchmen movie we got, is this going to be a straight adaptation of the original 12-issue miniseries? Is it going to be another offshoot?
Is it going to be Doomsday Clock stuff?
Exactly. And if it is the 12 issues, will it lead to a sequel to a Doomsday Clock? Your thoughts, Brad?
Man, I actually was not on the panel where this was announced, so I missed this. But had I been there, that would have been like the story for my Comic-Con, because those are two of my favorites. I mean,
absolutely,
one of my favorite stories of all time. And I would hope that if they're going this animated movie route, that they don't make it a sequel, or they do the straight adaptation. I would rather see that in an animated form. But I mean, it's so dense. There's so much there. I think they would almost
2 or 3 films at least, wouldn't it?
Do 2 films like they did with Dark Knight Returns. So I would love to see
Long Halloween,
and Long Halloween, right? And Crisis is the same way. Crisis is such a classic story. I am curious though. One thing that makes me a bit nervous is that they're calling Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths, not just Crisis on Infinite Earths. So it's going to focus more on the Justice League. So it's not going to be as much of a straight adaptation, it sounds like, for me, because a lot of the characters that got pulled originally in Crisis weren't major characters,
or even DC characters. That's what the Charlton characters as well, isn't it?
Blue Beetle was one.
All those guys
so I think that makes me curious about what they're going to do as far as the story concerned. But these are two of my favorite comic stories of all time. So and we've talked so often about how DC really knocks it out of the park with these animated movies. So at this point there's no reason to think that they're going to be bad. But yeah, I will. I used to joke about when the Sandman comes out, I'm skipping work that day, and just I feel the same way about a Watchmen animated movie. I'd probably call out a sick from work to watch it. What about you guys?
Yeah, definitely something worth considering. In terms of a Watchmen animation, a part of me still remembers the motion comic from the extras from the really DVD commentary.
Yeah, we've got it.
In the Ultimate Edition. And honestly, like, there's moments when the animation is still a little ropey, but it still matches like Dave Gibbons' art style. So I can forgive it. I think there's a lot of charm there, especially when they do some of the parts like the pirate comics as like a vignette. So I think if they do it properly, they would have to do it in at least 2 films.
Minimum.
I think also it'd be a good chance for the creative team to actually test themselves. Do they want to like put the usual polish that they put on current Warner Brothers animations, or do they want to put it back into Dave Gibbons' art style? Either way, if they do it well, then there'll be a real slam dunk. I think trying to keep it in that vintage art style would be good to recreate the fact that it's still a 1980s story. So that would just add to the retro feel of it in an alternate timeline. Whereas for Justice League, the storyline itself is iconic, and you can tell most of the story with just the main cadre of characters, just the main Justice League members. You'd be missing a lot of charm, and you'd be missing a lot of the side stuff where you see the consequences of the multiverse just sort of unraveling in and of itself. But you'd get sort of like the foundational story there, and I think that's still good for the more casual viewer, because they'll go in, see this involvement, want to pick up, and then be like, "Oh crap! There's so much other stuff here. Who are all these characters? I've got to read about them." And that brings more people in. Which honestly, it's a shame to not see the cider parts of the story adapted and put to animation. But if it has that consequences, I can forgive it.
Yeah, I mean, you both make really valid points. I mean, with Crisis, I mean, even the TV adaptation was like it was like only a 4-parter, wasn't it? The Crisis on Infinite Earths they did for the CW, for the Arrowverse shows, and that just dwelled mainly on the core characters of the TV shows. With the comics, obviously, Brad, you and I know about Earth S and Captain Carrot and the Zoo Crew and the Charlton characters, but most viewers will only know about the Trinity and the main Justice League. So, like you said, I mean, they're the main core of the story anyway. But that can lead, as long as they've really got the Anti-Monitor, a major death, Supergirl or the Flash or one of the big characters, as long as they've got Superboy Prime, because of the repercussions for Infinite Crisis and Final Crisis and everything else that follows, it'll work as a Justice League movie if it's well enough written and adapted.
Yeah, that's true. I just thought there was something.
It's odd. I agree.
I guess because you have more freedom with an animated movie to bring in randomware characters in a way. It'd just be fun to see. I mean, you'd have to have Harbinger as well.
Oh yeah, Harbinger, and obviously Pariah.
I mean, that's true, because if you look at the deaths and the major things that happened, it did deal with the Justice League. So, I suppose you're right. But either way, I'm super excited for both.
Yeah. Well, let's be fair here. I mean, with Crisis on Infinite Earths changed the game for comics, not just for DC, but because it was the first major super event crossover. Everything else that followed, even Marvel Secret Wars, couldn't have happened without the Crisis on Infinite Earths. And when we talk about Watchmen, like you say, Brad, iconic. I mean, Zack Snyder's Watchmen live action movie is still one of my favorite movies of all time, but it did have to chop a lot, the history, the background, the giant squid. And I think it adapted it well, having Manhattan be the catalyst. But again, if they're going to adapt this well, like you said, which was brilliant, doing it like Dark Knight, doing it like Long Halloween into 2 movies, and then having everything else that follows come if it succeeds, It's exciting. Two of the greatest comic stories of all time getting full animated treatment. Who can be happy about that? Now, something that put a big smile on my face was the trailer for Scooby-Doo and Krypto 2. Now, do you remember, Brad? It must have been about a year ago, actually, when it leaked that they were doing a Scooby-Doo movie that featured the Legion of superheroes in Krypto. Obviously, that's metamorphosis. I mean, we didn't see the Legion, but do you think we might even get to see them? But what we have seen so far, that trailer looks hilarious. What did you make of it?
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And I don't know why that I got this confused with the animated movie that got scrapped. Wasn't there a Scooby-Doo that got canceled the same time as the Batgirl movie? And for some reason, I thought that was this one. So it was great to see a trailer. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to get to see it. The voice cast looks great.
Oh wow!
Anytime you bring Tara Strong into it,
yep,
being Harley Quinn,
yeah, of course,
I'm absolutely there.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So bringing those big names in makes me want to see it more. I mean, I know it's going to be aimed for kids, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I think it's September, so we don't even have to wait that long into September.
Not long.
Yeah, because I was going to say, even though it's aimed for kids, air quotes, like I remember the last time I was it's like bored and flicking through like satellite TV channels, and I stumbled across the Scooby-Doo Batman the Brave and the Bold crossover movie, and it just sucked me in somehow. Like there was like I caught it like in the middle where Batman was like in a diner of all places talking about the mystery to the rest of Mystery Inc. And then he takes them on a tour through Arkham Asylum to talk to the Riddler, and Scooby and Shaggy are freaked out as always. But I don't know how, but somehow it just sucked me in. There's something just like approachable and all ages friendly for the very light kids stuff from Warner Brothers Animation at present. So I think if they give it that level of love and attention, it'll still be a family fun for everybody.
And let's just be truthful. Every kids project DC have ever done has got loads of stuff in there for the mums and the dads as well. Did you see Legion of Super Pets or League of Super Pets?
Great.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Brilliant. If this is going to go down that road as well. I mean, the only thing that made me laugh is we've got Krypto who can fly and faster than a speeding bullet, able to leap tall buildings, laser vision, whatever. But he still barks, and Scooby's having full-blown conversations. So stuff like that. Yeah, I don't care if it's a kid's film. It makes me feel young at heart. Bring it on.
It'll be so much fun, won't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you mentioned Margot Robbie.
Yeah.
And Adam, you mentioned the fact that we're talking about David Ayer's original Suicide Squad, a film which I think still gets a bad rap, but David Ayer remains adamant that obviously his version, and it's bound to be true, every director's cut I've ever seen has been superior to the studio chopped theatrical release. Zack Snyder's Justice League and Joss Whedon's are two completely separate films. Now, it seems that James Gunn is behind getting the film released at some point. Now, what does that even mean? Your thoughts, Brad?
Yeah, it could mean anything. If it's ready to go, we talked about with the Snyder Cut was a great timing for Snyder Cut because it was during COVID and everything was put on pause. Well, we're kind of in that spot again with the strike.
Right, a strike.
So if there's going to come a time where these delays do go on and there's kind of a dead zone, that would be the perfect thing to drop.
Yeah.
And I would really like to see, there's part of me that would like to see the redemption of Jared Leto's Joker.
Yeah.
It's somewhere that people can actually respect his performance. I mean, I didn't mind it. Yeah. So I'd be really interested in those scenes. So I would definitely watch it. And he said Ayers described it as his cut being cut to pieces, the theatrical cut. So I want to see what he would put together with those pieces. And if James Gunn can get it done, I don't see a downside in it. I say that those things like that. That's why we have streaming services.
Yep.
You can put those things. You don't have to put it in the theater. You can put it right on the streaming service and let people watch it. So I do hope this happens. What about
Yeah,
you guys?
I'm hopeful too. I think because I ultimately know that the version that we all got to see of the first Suicide Squad movie, it was re-edited by the company that cut together the trailers. So there was a lot of stuff that hit the cutting room floor that most of us never got to see, and like the visions of Jared Leto's Joker were described as terrifying. Like, I think why Jared Leto's Joker sticks out as a good performance to me is because he's a version that we've not really seen on screen before, much like in the same way Robert Pattinson's Batman was like the wired detective. Jared Leto's Joker was the clampers of crime.
Yeah,
because that's
exactly
what like a crime lord that's still unhinged and would resemble a clown would look like in like a kind of like urban culture. I think that side got it down, but if we see some of the twisted, unhinged stuff that makes him quote unquote terrifying, we got glimpses of that, like when he's there in that circle surrounded by the knives and the baby grows.
Yeah.
If we get more things like that, while still making him the focus instead of Enchantress, then that could be a really fascinating redemption for Jared Leto Joker, and I'm very here for it. So hopefully we get some sign of that, hopefully soon.
I mean, it's like you said. I mean, Brad, you are the king of the visuals and of the couture and of the costumes. For me, what most people were really rallying about with Jared Leto's Joker is the look, the grill, the tattoos, the fact he wasn't in the purple suit. I still think, strip all that away, the performance is, like Adam said, one of the classic and probably the most comics accurate Joker we've had in a live action film when it comes to the character.
And I appreciated how kind of how I guess I will say brave it was for that design, because that came out of left field. Nobody was expecting that. When that picture hit, that broke the internet. I like it'd have been much easier to get a more traditional looking Joker. So that's kind of one thing that I kind of appreciated about it, that it was so out there and daring.
Yeah,
respect.
Hopefully we get to see it again.
I hope so. So let's just see what happens. Now, what we know is happening, and it also involves the Joker and Harley Quinn, is the anime TV series of Suicide Squad Isekai. Now, you're a manga fan, me not so much. Brad, your thoughts on this? The trailer looks great.
Yeah, the trailer is cool, and it's kind of from what I understand, it's a subgenre where characters are put into like a different world, and that's a Suicide Squad, and those characters. That seems like I don't want to say a perfect choice, but a very interesting choice, and the designs look incredible. So I'm just thrilled by the look of the thing. Really, I'll be there. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I will say it's being done by Wit Studios. They've been involved in a lot of good anime since the late 90s, and they've got people that have been assigned to like the Jujutsu Kaisen anime to it, so they've put it in a good creative team. Isekai is a subgenre of like anime and manga where they get characters and deliberately thrust them into like highly fantastical worlds just to like see how they react. Like you've got light examples where like the magic is the thing in stuff like Hell's Paradise, which is doing very well, which is anime is out right now and is excellent. But then you've got like stuff that's really weird, like The Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. Yes, that is the full title. But that kind of story really lends it to real fish out of water stories, and Suicide Squad's a safe team of characters to do this with, because
they all are fish out of water.
They are all fish out of water thrust together. And depending on the kind of world they get thrust into, it could be very highly dangerous where they'll just fall out and then all of a sudden Polka Dot Man just gets eaten by a dragon. And that's perfectly okay. I think if it's done well, and certainly the look and the character designs look excellent, and the creative team they've got behind it, like I said, is very strong as well. So this will be it's a very unexpected release, but one that I'm very excited for personally.
And TV is the new movies. I mean, it's a much better way of telling a long story. I actually do think that TV now is probably the prime medium for telling real story with depth and character and drama and character progression. A 2-hour film, even a 3-hour film, sometimes isn't anywhere near long enough, which is what we said earlier with the Watchmen film. But like you said, Brad, and again, your eye is unparalleled. The visuals, the animation, the style of this trailer even though I'm not the biggest manga or anime fan, has got me really excited. And like you both said, this is the perfect team of characters for that kind of story. They're all outcasts, they're all misfits thrown together in a situation that could get them killed, hence Suicide Squad. Brilliant. I think it's really, really clever. So, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, definitely.
And something more good news, and long may it continue. My Adventures with Superman, season 1 in the can. I don't know how many have aired. Obviously, we haven't had it in the UK as yet, but it's factual, it's official. A season 2 is coming. Great news.
Yeah, it is. It's a really fun show. A very Superman show. You know, it's. I still don't see why it needs to be Adult Swim. I have seen a few episodes now, but
it's not Harley Quinn.
Yeah. And this is another one of those where the character designs are really well done.
Yeah.
And the writing's good. There's some good character development. I'm glad it should be there's going to be a season 2. I judging from what I've seen, it's not surprising because I think it's getting a pretty good response from fans as well. So yeah, I'm glad it's going to be a season 2. What about you guys?
Yeah. All of the reactions I have from some of my stateside fans are saying that it's like a really sincere but really fresh look at these characters. So it's something I've been excited to try and catch whenever I can. So the fact that we've got even more of it before I've seen any of it makes me very excited and very confident in how strong it is. So yeah, well done. They're well deserved.
Especially in these days where either nothing's happening or things are getting cancelled left, right, and centre, to have a project succeed, be loved, and to guarantee a second season, that's the kind of news I want to be talking about every week. So bring it on. Now, something else that's put the biggest smile on my face today, and Brad, you'll know why. Obviously. Batwheels was one of those shows that I don't think anybody knew they wanted until it happened. Talking alive Bat vehicles, awesome. And now, the one thing that I think we even talked about it, the one thing I thought was missing from the original casting from the original season was a nod to Adam West's Batmobile. Not only were you going to get that, but somehow through the magic of technology and archives, Adam West will voice that Batmobile in the next season. My life is complete, Brad. What about you, my friend?
Yeah, this is also one of those shows that kind of has things for adults.
Yeah.
And fans too, which is fun. And I think this is one of those things that will be that. I mean, I guess at this point, maybe grandfathers and grandmothers of the kids that are watching it that grew up with Adam West. And I guess there could be some, people who have issues with the fact that he's already passed away and they're using his voice again. But I'm sure that everything was set up with his estate. And
yes, of course.
And it's a brilliant idea to have that Batmobile. And to me, that's still one of the most and the 89 Batmobile are like my two faves. So yeah, I think it's a great idea. Yeah. What about you guys?
I'm going to be totally honest. I had seen pictures of like the Batwheels when it was first posted on Dark Knight News months and months ago. And then I kind of dismissed it because I thought I was tripping. And then hearing about this news again when we let through the show, I was just like, oh yeah, this is a show that exists. And they're paying this kind of respect to a Bat legend. Makes total sense. And I'm sure that whichever appearances Adam West's voice will appear will be done with a great bit of justice and bit of service. And to the developers at Warner Brothers Animations, in the likely event that you're listening to us, there's a moment where you can get like one of them just like honk the horn and it just goes like just like the transitions. Come on, you know what to do. Get the sound team on it. It's not gonna be that hard.
Has to be done.
But either way, just to get that slice of Bat history into the most unlikely but still the most fun bit of Batman media, perfect. I think it's really respectful and really fun that nobody was expecting but deeply wants.
I now need that as a message alert tone. I think I need that in my life.
Like with this, like, you know, like those big vans that like you
Yeah.
just, like do like Kukurasha or something like that. Just like the
Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That needs to happen. And like you said, Brad, for me, again, the two most iconic Batmobiles in history are the Batman 66 Batmobile, even though it only had a top speed of 25 miles per hour and it had to be sped up 5 times every time they recorded it. And you can really tell when you look at the backgrounds, that car was beautiful. And Michael Keaton's Batman 89 Batmobile is the one that keeps coming back. We saw it this year in The Flash. Now, to have Adam West voice the car, I just think it's a wonderful tribute. And anyone who's got issue with that, there's no way Adam West's family won't see something from this, and they would not have allowed it otherwise. So bring it on. Absolutely brilliant. Now, one of the joys of my job with DC Comics News and Dark Knight News is getting lots of wonderful graphic novels to read and review. And I read and reviewed the complete collected original Creature Commandos. And I was wondering, when it was announced that they were doing a Creature Commandos TV series, which era would we get, the original World War II or the modern day? The question has been answered. I'm happy with it. What about you, Brad?
Yeah, because I think it's good to launch, because this is going to be the first show of the new DC universe. I think it's important to have it in modern day. But what's interesting is that there could be all that conversation, because these characters are timeless. So it could have been. So it was a very important question to ask, and I think it was very smart to put it in present day. And I think James Gunn's humor works better in present day. So yeah, I was happy to hear this. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, getting James Gunn's humor into World War II is very difficult.
Yeah.
But honestly, like, I'm going to be totally honest, I had not really been familiar with this team until I researched them for some of the wider news to talk about this today. But they seem very wild and very out there, and exactly the kind of ragtag team that James Gunn is known for putting to screen. So I have every confidence that he'll do a great job. And I'm just looking at some of the news clips that we've got as part of our preparation, and the cast that they've got attached
amazing.
Has been so good. Indira Varma from
Torchwood
and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Alan Tudyk as Dr. Phosphorus. Let's go.
Just Alan Tudyk.
But then again, showing it still present day, where we've got Viola Davis reprising her perfect performance as Amanda Waller. I'm very excited for this team to be put onto screen and be done some justice. And again, this is another very audacious, very ambitious look that DC's starting to go with, because we've had what looks to be a very successful run of Blue Beetle coming soon into a very successful look at this team from across time and space. I think as long as they continue to keep the consistency and the strengths of what they're making up, they can almost do anything.
Anytime you can get archetypal universal monsters like the Frankenstein's monster, a vampire, a werewolf, that kind of thing in a superhero setting and in animation, with James Gunn at the helm and this level of casting, I would have loved to see the original World War II Creature Commandos, but vampires are immortal. Can you kill a creature that's been made up of parts? I don't see why they couldn't flash back and see the original Creature Commandos, or even cross them over at a later date if this show runs and runs and runs. And if it's like any other DC animated show, how many have only lasted one season? Live action, a few. Too many, sadly. But animation is something that no one can doubt DC does superbly. Young Justice got cancelled after 2 seasons, but fans brought it back. Batman the Animated Series, we've got a show based on that. With this level of backing, it's hopefully a surefire win. And like you said, this is the kind of team James Gunn was made for, wasn't it? Brilliant. Really looking forward to it. Now, 100 years of Warner Brothers. And one of the ways we're celebrating is with Teen Titans Go. Brad, you're a fan, I know. Tell me your thoughts.
Why not? Why not? Sometimes the show almost has more of an appeal than the regular. It exists in a whole different world of people who watch it than who read the regular DC stuff or follow DC. So I think in that way, I think it's smart to use that show as kind of one of their celebrations for 100 years.
Yeah.
And it might be something that's a lot of DC fans don't pay much attention to either. It's kind of, it exists in its own weird thing. So I think it's better for it to exist there than say something like Batwheels or that. So totally. I think why not? What about you guys?
I think Teen Titans Go has sort of like, it started out very jokey and very much aware of what it was parodying, and sort of evolved into this like weird incandescent blob of fourth wall breaking humor. It lives in the rubble of the fourth wall at this point. And I think that means that it can do anything. If it's going to be actually a celebration of 100 years, then it needs to be a celebration of 100 years. Maybe Cyborg does some weird experiment with like a time machine and just goes through 100 years of animations, and we see all 5 of them just like change between animation styles.
It could do that.
Catch up with like the original like Hanna-Barbera stuff, and like eventually find the actual Warner Brothers and their Warner sister Dot.
Oh man, that would be so cool.
Just like to actually see that 100 years with those weird irreverent characters with some other drama going on the whole way through. What was that excellent movie that came out, the 3D animation where it was pretty much everyone? It was like the Scooby Gang fighting Dick Dastardly.
Wacky Races?
It was kind of like a Wacky Races movie, but all of the everyone was in it.
I know what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying. It was very recent. Like Dastardly and Muttley were in it. If it had that sort of tone to it, just like, but still a real celebration of DC with that of Warner Brothers with those characters in it, just to keep the irreverence and the dumb humor up, we could be into something very special.
It would be crazy. And this is, like you said, Brad, it's the right people to do it with Teen Titans Go, because it started off as a joke. I mean, I love the Teen Titans animated series. So when I saw Teen Titans Go, I thought, what the hell am I looking at? But it's become a cult classic cross between comic books and Mad Magazine meets, like you said, the ultimate fourth wall breaking. It's just crazy. So,
and the Teen Titans Go to the movies was
smashed it.
How did they get Nick Cage as Superman? Honestly,
and anything with the challenges of the unknown.
Yeah,
you got me.
Brilliant.
So good.
Happy birthday, Warner Brothers.
You deserve it.
What a way to celebrate. So we talked about everything on the screen, big screen and small screen, TV, movies, and streaming. But now, our favourite subject in the world. Let's talk about comics now. Scott Snyder. Love him.
Man,
let's talk about his possible return to DC and the DC future genre. Brad, your thoughts on this story?
I love it when DC messes with time, future state, and I think it makes perfect sense.
Loved it. Yeah.
And it seems like just yesterday we were talking to Scott Snyder in that interview where he said, I want to step away from superhero books for a while, but maybe I'll come back. So it's good to have him back in the fold. I knew it wouldn't take that long. You're in good hands when it's Scott Snyder.
Yeah, totally.
He's coming back to a landscape that has been changed a lot thanks to people like the Toms and Joshua Williamson. So he's coming back into some new territory that I think he'll have a lot of fun with. So I say welcome back. What about you guys?
I honestly understand where he's coming from. If you're a creator and you want to tell stories, you need to challenge yourself by stepping away from the genre you've been writing for a while. Obviously, his superhero stuff in DC is legendary at this point.
Absolutely.
And like those stories are never going to go away. But if you want to take some time to tell something a bit more independent and out there, by all means, go do that. I'm just fortunate that his time with DC was so storied and so huge that he could just slide right in and just feel welcomed with open arms. again, that's a good timing for him as well, because with all these big changes that has gone on in the DC universe, even right now, he'll find those to be new constraints for him to tell stories just as good as he has always. So he's very welcome, and I'm sure he's going to tell some unique and powerful things.
Yeah, he's not just one of the best storytellers in comics. I mean, not just DC. Just about everything he's written that I've read, I've just thought, wow, this guy is something else. Brad, we had interviewed him on this show, and I interviewed him again at the end of last year at Thought Bubble, and he said that he still had plans. He would still come back to DC happily, and seeing this news and seeing that it's going to happen, brilliant. And like you said, I mean, the Josh Williamsons of the world, the Tom Taylors, the Tom Kings, owe a great deal of gratitude to Scott Snyder, because when it comes to multiverse level threats, Metal and Death Metal open the door to Final Crisis and everything else that's going on right now. Perpetua and the Batman Who Laughs are still out there. So I'm just happy to see what happens next, because this could be crazy. If we get some kind of new Metal crossover between him, the Williamson, and the two Toms, ooh, can you imagine? Wow. Can you imagine? Now, this one, I don't know whether I'm absolutely intrigued or thinking, what are DC smoking? But this is awesome. Kong, v Godzilla, v the DC universe, and of course, Batman and a giant mech.
Oh, right, sure. Oh, so this is a follow-on from DC Mech from last year?
No. This is brand new. But obviously, how can you have a non-powered guy like Batman going up against Godzilla and King Kong? He has to be in a giant Batman robot, right?
Sure.
So,
that makes total sense.
Brad, I know you've got thoughts about this.
I'm not a huge fan of crossovers like this, but this has kind of got my brain all sparkly. I think it's think it's going to be a lot of fun. Godzilla is such a fun character, and anytime you put giant robots versus giant monsters, how can you not love it? Batman and I mean, it seems like it's got all the ingredients for a super fun story, and one that you don't have to take that seriously. It's like, let's have a good time, kind of like the Jurassic League from a few years, something like that. I mean, it just seems like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, because the last comics crossover I can think of featuring Godzilla was with the Power Rangers. So let's throw Godzilla and King Kong in there. And like, if it has the same energy as DC Mech or Jurassic League, I'm here for it. But my only question is, since it's King Kong, there's like, the only question in my mind is what is King Kong climbing, Wayne Tower or the Daily Planet Tower? No, but which is it?
I would say Wayne Tower.
And who's he carrying up there?
Well, if it's Wayne Tower, it could be anybody. If it's DC Tower, if it's Daily Planet, it's Lois Lane, obviously. But Lois Lane not going to be like the damsel, like the lady in King Kong. She's going to be like fighting back or something. I'd
like to see a Terry Pratchett reversal where Kong gets shrunk down and then Giganta carries him up one of the towers. That would be hilarious. But honestly, the question I have is, as soon as you see Batman in a giant mech, why has nobody thought of this before? Why has no one put the Justice League against someone like Kong or Godzilla before? I say Godzilla is one of those characters. My childhood, the Godzilla animated series with Godzuki is one of the things that I grew up with. So Godzilla's never been out of my life, even though I'm not a huge fan of the films or anything like that. But as soon as, like you said, Brad, this isn't usually my scene at all, but I'm in.
And that just made me think of something really, really silly.
Oh, God.
Because if we're opening it up to like Godzilla and King Kong, can we open it up to the giant monster movie universe where Killer Moth rides Mothra into battle?
Oh, my Lord. How could that not happen?
It'd be so stupid. It'd be so... But I love Killer Moth anyway because he's just so stupid.
I think Kite Man would be even better.
I guarantee you that would be in the
That's going to be in the second one.
Oh, yeah, of course. After the
I have a feeling it will be. This is one of those things that too kind of broke the internet, because they announced this when I was in San Diego, and I would a lot of times just be checking news to see if there's, because you can't be everywhere at once. So, and this was pretty out there and like hit my Facebook feed a bunch. It was I think people are going to respond well to it.
cool.
Very cool.
It's going to be mental.
Very stupid.
I'm looking forward to it. Now, this is something that's really got me excited because Rafael Grampa to me is one of those artists who's just so different. And I know that comic book trailers aren't a new thing, but this could be the single best comic book trailer I have ever seen. And the whole premise was something that fascinated me with the whole Batman murderer, Batman fugitive storyline. What would happen if Batman decided not to be Bruce Wayne anymore? What did you think of the trailer, the premise, the whole thing? I know we talked about it briefly before, but this trailer's brought it to a whole new light for me.
Yeah, I think the concept is really cool. I think I said to you, there has to have been a story, a Batman story that kind of dealt with the same thing, and I think you had mentioned a few, but this definitely looks different. The trailer was simple, direct, and I kind of really like that techno / industrial music at the end of the trailer. It kind of got me going. Man, yeah, they showed this at the Gotham City.
Must
panel.
have been great on a big screen,
and it was really cool. People seemed to love it. And I'm telling you, the art is incredible. They handed out ashcan editions of the first issue.
Cool.
So all the black and white art, it's impressive. I'm really looking forward to the series, for sure.
I think if they do the story properly, it'd be a real return to Batman being like an icon of noir storytelling. Just like someone who just recognizes the bleak nature of their existence and just like submits to it, because like most characters like that just recognize that they're in a gritty situation, are the case to end all cases, and just like following the beat. It's like, it'll be great for a detective story, which we can expect from Batman anyway, but like someone who's given himself over to that so completely with that art style and that creative team behind it, this is a very unique story that could really go anywhere, and I'm very excited.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing of Bruce Wayne not being a part of Batman's life, does that liberate him or does that cripple him? Because Bruce Wayne, to me, is that emotional release, that psychological release that lets him, like, even superheroes need a work-life balance, I think. But let's talk about the art, because obviously we've seen a preview as well now with some of Rafael Grampa's fully coloured art. And like I said, this guy is different. There's no other artist could be mistaken for him, and he can be mistaken for any other artist. And the fact he's writing this as well, I'm just pumped about it. I mean, this preview's hot, right?
Yeah, I love seeing the colors, and the covers are great. And it's such a I like these projects when the artist does the writing as well, because it's all so intertwined. It's exactly what the artist wanted, and this I think is going to be a landmark Batman story for a while. I think people are going to be talking about this for a while. Yeah, I'm super excited.
I'm sure it'll be unforgettable. I hope so, at least.
I mean, just imagine. I mean, we disagree. I don't know if you've read the Bruce Wayne murder, Bruce Wayne fugitive arc, where he's framed for the murder of his then girlfriend, Vesper Fairchild, and he gets locked up, but then breaks out. So obviously Bruce Wayne's on the run and Batman's just Batman full time. And the psychological implications behind it, I think, to me, in my head canon, is what led to the whole Batman of Zur-En-Arrh, Batman having a fail-safe device if he's ever attacked mentally or if he loses his mind due to the stresses of doing what he does. So having that taken away completely in a Black Label book, which has got no constraints, no continuity, because even though it has happened in mainstream, you know that there's going to be a reset. He's going to go back to Gotham. He's going to be Bruce Wayne again. But with Black Label, you don't have that safety net. So fascinating. Really looking forward to it. Now, on a completely different level, I don't know if you guys read any of the Webtoon comics, but they're phenomenal. Wayne Family Adventures in particular is one of the best things I've ever read, and I look forward to my weekly dose every Thursday almost religiously. But you and I, Brad, like a comic book we can hold in our hands, that we can turn the pages, sniff the paper and the ink. We're getting it. The Webtoon series are coming to print, and now it's not just the 3 that were originally announced, it's all of them. Color me happy. What about you, sir?
Me too. I want to read all of these.
Oh, they're great.
And I haven't. I haven't read them yet. So now I'm gonna just get the books.
You're in for a treat.
That big chunk of story to read. I actually was in a comic shop the other day and saw that they were out. I was like, oh, so I was really psyched for it. And they're pretty reasonably priced considered.
Yeah.
They're $15, and that's given today. That's it's reasonable.
Actually.
Yeah. So I'm super excited. I'm super excited for this, the Vixen, and what was the third one?
Red Hood Outlaw and Zatanna. Love Zatanna.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I'm excited about the Zatanna story as well.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I'm psyched for all of them.
I can count on Webtoon to be like the forefront of really ambitious storytelling, not just in the superhero medium, but for all stuff. I think like a Korean comic, a manhwa called Solo Leveling started out on Webtoon, and it's a worldwide phenomenon. It's huge. So getting that, and it's finally seeing its paper print in graphic novel and light novel form now, and it's excellent stuff. So being able to put these stories in that pantheon is just a huge deal, and is getting these readers out to more attention. So something definitely worth picking up if you can swing it, dear listener.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, Wayne Family Adventures alone. I don't know. This is obviously, some people have complained that when is this set? How does this fit into continuity? Forget all that. Think about Wayne Family Adventures like Batman the Animated Series, its own separate universe. But what it does do is it gets every member of the Bat family, from the Signal to Batgirl to Cassandra Cain to Spoiler to all the Robins to Jason Todd, Alfred, and deliver their true innermost essences from the last 85 years of comics and distilled it into one beautiful, easy to look at, simple but deceptively so artwork, and deliver stories that'll make you laugh out loud, make you cry, where you see found family in a brand new way. Honestly, even though this series is very friendly to all ages, the emotional content, the psychology, the action, the thrills, the laughs are superb. The fact that one of the jokes is Batman has a mug that says "World's Most Okay Dad." That in itself alone is worth the price of admission.
Oh, wow.
Get it. Brilliant. I'm there.
Yes, but does it feature Batcow?
I'm sure it does at some point.
Wait,
yes.
what? I was joking. It features Batcow?
I think they're all in it at some point. They're all in it at some point.
Okay, great.
But when they have snowball fight contests,
sure.
Just read this. Honestly, it's brilliant. Buy it. Don't borrow it, buy it. Now, crossovers. Love them or hate them, they bring in readers. But two words should automatically get you invested in this one. And those two words are Tom Taylor. Now, when you add the words Teen Titans and Starro, you know something huge is coming. Brad, what do you make of this one?
You had me at Starro. It's funny reading the article because it felt like a little bit of a spoiler saying that Beast Boy can turn into Starro, but that's
why wouldn't he?
Why not? Yeah.
I can't wait. That's gonna be a lot of fun, and that's one of those things like, why hadn't somebody thought of this before?
Exactly.
Like that. Yeah, I thought, well, wow, that should have happened a long time ago. So this should be good. And Beast Boy, he needs a kind of spotlight a little bit. My favorite Beast Boy version right now is the Cami Garcia.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Series. It's so good. So I like that character is getting a spotlight outside of that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
There's so many elements to this crossover that just like read excellent on their own. Like a great new Teen Titans story, a great and powerful Cosmic Starro story, all being managed by Tom Taylor. It's a wonder as to how Tom Taylor was being able to assign to this project. But then again, like, I think that'd be a nice little brain break in terms of the heavy stuff he's been writing so far. Something a little bit light and cosmic and fun, but still have the room for emotional growth and like new unseen stuff in the world of DC with Beast Boy turning into Starro and such. There's a lot that can be done here. Like, sure, we've got that, like, spoilery, non-spoiler of Beast Boy being able to do that, but that's just the beginning. Yeah. Anything could happen in this story, and I think that's the most exciting part. Anything could happen, and that's just going to draw in all kinds of readers. All kinds of readers. Absolutely.
And like you said, Brad, Tom's just one of those writers. I mean, he's proved it time and time again from Injustice onwards. Again, he's one of those guys. Actually, he's never written anything I haven't liked. Ever. I mean, even Scott Snyder, I didn't like Zero Year that much, but everything else I've loved, and I've loved his indie stuff. But Tom Taylor's worked for DC, hence the fact he's now got a DC exclusive contract. He can only write for DC. From Injustice, from the Deceased books, Nightwing, which we'll talk about, arguably the best comic book on the shelves right now. Now he's writing Titans. Now he's writing a Titans crossover. Now the Titans have taken over from the Justice League as Earth's premier super team. Now you get this.
Anything could happen, honestly.
Dude, I mean, and Nicholas Scott art.
Oh, wow.
You know.
Exactly.
Yeah. Enough said. Thanks, Stan Lee, for those wise words. Now, from Beast Worlds, monsters, giant and otherwise, let's talk about the other enemy, our minds. And Christian Ward, one of the finest writer-artists in all of comics and one of the nicest people I've ever met.
Very nice man.
Black Label again, Brad. Batman City of Madness, a kind of spiritual prequel to Batman Arkham Asylum. Dude, sign me up.
Well, yeah, and not only that, but I thought that Batman Cult was one of the more underrated Batman stories from the 80s, and that they're going to bring that in. And Court of Owls has become one of the most iconic Batman stories of the 21st century. So bringing those three together and Lovecraftian horror, it's a win-win. I don't see how people are going to not love this. It's a match made in heaven. And I'm glad to see that Batman Cult's getting some love.
Finally.
I think Christian Ward's probably the only creator that would A, have this idea, and B, have the creative talent to be able to bring them all together. Lovecraftian cosmic horror is notoriously hard to do in a visual media, because when you're reading like the horror novel, your own mind creates the visuals as you read it.
Yeah.
So when you see it put to screen or put to page in graphic novel form, seeing the tentacles kind of takes the horror out of it. But there's something so mesmerizing about Christian Ward's artwork that it will just suck you right in, literally and metaphorically. When you play with the story elements of Batman Cult, the Court of Owls, and whatever strange, trippy illusions that Christian Ward wants to delight us with, I think this is the only way that kind of story could be told. I think he's the perfect creator for all this, and I trust him to do something truly historic.
And like you said, Brad, isn't it brilliant when you get someone who writes as well as they draw and paint? And this is one of those guys. I mean, Aquaman Andromeda, he only handled the art for. Ram V wrote it, but the synthesis between the two is incredible. And Christian wrote one of the best vampire things of the last 20 years with Bloodstained Teeth.
Bloodstained Teeth is excellent.
But what I love about his art, like you said, the Cthulhu mythos, everything Lovecraftian. The real horror is the horror you create in your head, but Christian Ward's art style is, how can I even describe it? He does realistic, but he does like hyper surreal realistic. Yeah.
And that's kind of what the artwork was like in Arkham Asylum.
Dave McKean's another one of those guys.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, Dave McKean's artwork was so perfect for capturing the madness that it actually created some madness between himself and the great Grant Morrison. Like, there was so much friction there, but
they will never work together again.
But which is a damn shame, because the thing they made together was so perfect, and it really fit the brief for the madness of what happens going on in Arkham Asylum every day. Yeah, it's been reprinted too many times at this point. So that kind of style of storytelling is exactly what you want for a project like this. But the perfect synergy of like a writer artist doing it, means we'll get the sincere story the whole way through, and anything could happen. That's why it's exciting.
I can't wait for this one. And again, Black Label are killing it while I miss Vertigo, Black Label has been proven to be a worthy successor.
Black Label has definitely been the spoonful of sugar that helps that medicine go down.
Yeah.
The books have been really good.
So good. So good. And something else that's really good, the Eisner Awards prove it, is DC's output with Nightwing and Human Target cleaning up at the Eisners. Again, you were there when they were awarded. You must have been one of the loudest cheers out there, right, Brad?
Well, just the idea of Nightwing. I mean, that series has...
it's amazing.
I think it's brought so many new readers into comics. It really... very cool ways of telling stories you can only do in comics. I felt that it was a very, and the influence that it brought in. I think there was like the Chris Ware influence on some of that stuff was really, and you don't really see that in more mainstream comics. The stories were great. It was like such a special story that can only be told in comics, and you get that very rarely. It's kind of like a Sandman, where you couldn't tell Sandman in any other form other than comics, and that's what is so special about this Nightwing series. And it's great to see it getting the respect it deserves by getting these nominations. And Human Target is another one. It's great.
Good.
You can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with Tom King. He deserves all the praise. So yeah, I think both of these books deserve all the awards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, DC cleaned up at the Eisner Award as well. Not just Tom Taylor's run on Nightwing for Best Continuing Series, and of course Best Limited Series going to Tom King's Human Target. Kevin Conroy's short story in DC's Pride, winning Best Short Story, was very deserved. The Best Single Issue / One Shot was The Riddler One Bad Day by Tom King again. Tom King taking it home twice. What a heroic performance! And all of those stories are highlights from the last year or so.
Yeah, Steve, you and I talked when these were announced.
Yeah.
That it'd be a crime if that Kevin Conroy story did not win. So Adam, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was a shoe-in, because that story was
magnificent,
incredible.
Yeah, it was a good showing across the board, and everything that won an Eisner Award definitely deserved to win. But DC absolutely cleaned house on the big categories, and they deserved it.
Like I say, great time to be a DC fan, and it's mainly because the comics that they're putting out
so good. Yeah.
I just watched the History of DC 3-part.
Oh, Superpowers. That was brilliant, wasn't it?
So good. But Dan DiDio brings up a good point. He said, my enemy isn't Marvel. My enemy is the TV and the movies, because if they become the arbiters of this, then we've lost it. And DC has proven that they're not going to lose that the comics are still the kind of the point of the spear when it comes to this stuff.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's the name of the company, Detective Comics.
There you go. Yeah. Absolutely. And I'm really glad this year, because last year Nightwing did win again a Best Ongoing Series. So it's 2 years in a row for that team. I'm still disappointed that Tom Taylor hasn't taken an award as Best Writer, but seeing that Bruno Redondo take the award for Best Artist, I mean, let's talk about Nightwing and breaking boundaries. The first comic ever to tell one story with one image spread out over 20 pages. Who does that? And how much of a nightmare was that? And then issue 105 recently, where the whole issue was shown from Nightwing's point of view. Amazing. And again, how's that not been done before? So Nightwing, well done. Tom King and Human Target, well done. Kevin Conroy, always missed, always loved, well done. Bruno, brilliant. Like you said, Brad, great time to be a DC fan.
Truly.
Now we come to our final story, and it is a good one because, well, there's a couple of Batman animated series fans here.
Great for us indeed.
There's a couple of million Batman animated series fans all over the world, and not only are we getting a deluxe hardcover omnibus of the entire run of the Batman Adventures Volume 1, we're getting a softcover collection of Batman Beyond Volume 1 and 2. I can finally put all my floppies away. Brad, are you buying these?
I am, because I haven't read the original issues. So this
Oh,
is going to
wow.
be this is going to be a great way to discover. I love it, just like the milestone compendiums that they
Yeah.
put out, because that was just came out at a time when I wasn't collecting, so it kind of missed me. Now I have these great additions that I can go back and pick up and take in the whole story. So I was happy to see that. Yeah, I'm gonna enjoy reading through these for sure.
I can't wait till you discover the artwork of Mike Parabek. May you rest in peace. Oh, wow. Yeah, you're in for a treat, brother. So good.
Yeah, because Batman the Animated Series and Batman Beyond, for largely different reasons, are considered some of like the finest like pieces of Batman media away from the comics.
Totally.
So these stories, these comic book stories, elevate those stories. They're not essential reading. You can watch the TV shows and that's the whole story. But when you read some of them, you get more context as to why Dick Grayson left Gotham City. You get more context of just like how the Joker's worked in that twisted version of future Gotham. So you get a more rounded story, and it makes it feel so much more submersive, and you just get deep into it. Having it all, and I mean everything, like actually everything.
The complete volume 1, yeah.
All in one easy place, just to like have as a pride point on your collection, and just to get the full story alongside all that animated TV. It's perfect for anyone who deeply loves those stories. So, and a must-have.
Yeah, I mean it's 36 single issues, 2 annuals, and a winter special in one hardcover book. And like Adam said, I mean, you can watch Batman the Animated Series and never read an issue of the Batman Adventures. You can read every issue of the Batman Adventures and not have even seen Batman the Animated Series. But when you have both together, it's just superb. It's fantastic. There's the slight little nods and hints and mentions that when you've watched them and read them, that elevate the whole thing. And that's the universe that Paul Dini, Alan Burnett, Bruce Timm and the whole gang tried to aim for from day one. So having this book, I mean, I know I shouldn't really because I've got the original issues, but those original issues are now worth a bloody fortune. Particularly issue 12, the first ever comics appearance of Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm astounded that you have that in your collection.
And the fact that that's getting collected now in a lovely hardcover, which will last and survive the test of time, it's deserved. And Batman Beyond as well. I mean, I'm a bit surprised that one's only getting a paperback version, and it doesn't look like it's got any of the extras that the Batman Adventures ones has, but it's collecting 2 whole volumes, the first 6-issue arc and then the whole complete second volume, which is actually the complete animated style Batman Beyond, because after that it was when Dan Jurgens and other serious comic writers took over and it became part of the official DC canon with Future's End. So maybe that's why it's a smaller collection and it's a complete beginning to end story. So either way, both those books well worth buying. So yeah, bring it on. So we know what we're going to be reading in the future, but Brad, tell our viewers, tell our listeners where they can read your work and hear your voice and learn about your eye for superhero couture, my friend.
You can find me writing news reviews, DC Comics News. Also writing the occasional news and reviews for Mark with the Movie Blog. You can find me on the Harley Quinn Mad Love podcast when we get back to recording it. I will always be carrying that flame. And you can follow me on Twitter at FlickyB1. What about you, Adam?
For those who are listening to I Am the Night, also here on the DC Comics News podcast, you know my whole spiel, but to let you know, you can find me reviewing many titles a month on Dark Knight News. Catwoman and the new look at Batman Beyond, as we were just talking about, are in excellent spots right now.
Really good.
But for my one true love, not to say I don't love DC Comics, but for my other true love, PC and tabletop gaming, look no further than my father and I's pride and joy, fantasticuniverses.com, where I put my 2 cents reviews and strategy guides for various PC, console, tabletop, and trading card games and everything in between. Follow me on Twitter at IsItTinkerer and follow me on twitch.tv/IsItTinkerer, where I stream card game goodness, including DC Dual Force, their new foray into the card game genre. An unreasonably good card game, especially now that they've gone through the update to include comic book adventures that you can play through with the physical cards. Cool. Truly excellent stuff. And yes, talk to me. I'm very approachable and I'm very nice.
True, I can vouch for that, but I'm biased.
Yeah.
As for myself, you can catch me on this show, on our show, all across Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, wherever you get your podcasts. DC Comics News, Dark Knight News, and Fantastic Universes are also on Twitter and Facebook. Just search for them all. On Twitter, it's DC Comics News, DK Newscom, or Fan Universes. As for this fella, at Stevo, EL_STEEVO on Twitter, Steve J. Ray on Facebook, or just search Steve J. Ray or Fantastic Universes in your search engine of choice to read my news, reviews, features, and interviews across DC Comics News, Dark Knight News, and Fantastic Universes. But until you do, something everyone out there has to do is to
read
more
comics. Do it. It's good for you.